I was walking down the street in the town where I was born. I was moving to a beat that I never felt before. So I opened up my eyes and I took a look around. I saw you written across the sky.
Good evening, everyone. If we can go ahead and find our seats, we're going to go ahead and get started here. I would like to start by introducing myself for those of you who do not know me. My name is Jared Shablon. I'm the chair of the Lower Shore Progressive Caucus. I would like to welcome you all out to Salisbury University. Thank you for coming out tonight. Are you having trouble hearing me? I said I would like to start by welcoming everyone here to Salisbury University. Thank you for making the trip out tonight. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Jared Shablon, and I am the chair of the Lower Shore Progressive Caucus. Is that better? Can you all? Fantastic. As many of you know, we are very privileged to have a special guest speaker tonight. Before we get a chance to, what was? I said, there we go. As many of you know, we are privileged to have a special guest speaker tonight from Ohio. We are excited to introduce her and have her speak in just a short few minutes. However, before that, I would like to tell you a fun fact about the lower four counties here on the lower Eastern Shore. The common knowledge of the Eastern Shore is it is very conservative, that it's the most conservative part of the state. That's actually not entirely true. No, this area has voted conservatively for many years now. There's actually 5,000 more registered Democrats here on the lower Eastern Shore than Republicans. And there's only one county on the lower shore that has more registered Republicans than Democrats, and that's Worcester. So there is an opportunity in this area to elect progressives and other left-leaning politicians and make this area more blue. That's what we're here to talk about tonight with Senator Nina Turner from Ohio, who has experience working in rural areas, so we can figure out how to take that plan and move that to this area so we can elect progressive and left-leaning candidates who will solve the economic, social, racial, and environmental injustices we face. Before we get started here with announcements and quick updates, I would like to take a minute to recognize the guest in the room tonight. I'd like to first thank our affiliates, Our Revolution and Our Revolution Maryland, who helped put on this event, helped get Nina Turner down here and get her safely to the shore, as well as our sponsors, the Salisbury University Democratic Club. Thank you for sponsoring the event and helping us get the room. Finally, I would also like to recognize the Wacomico County NAACP, the Worcester County NAACP, Talbot Rising, the United 7 Union, the Eastern Shore PAC for Social and Economic Justice, Surge Delmarva, ESCAN, Progressive Maryland, congressional candidate Michael Pullen, who is in the audience running here in District 1, and the ACLU of Maryland. Now I would like to call up Assistant to the Chair, Michael Feldman, to talk about an upcoming canvassing event we have here. Michael?
Good evening, guys. For those of you I have not met before, thank you for coming. My name is Michael Feldman. I am the deputy chair or assistant to the chair, depending on how you'd like to look at it. We are going to be doing a canvass in the Newtown area of Salisbury this weekend from 2 to 6 p.m. on Saturday, January 27th. Basically, we're going to be doing what's called deep canvassing and asking voters about what issues they care about and what is important to them. And then for those who are on board with Ben Jealous, as most of us are, we will be canvassing for Ben Jealous as well, as he has been endorsed both by Our Revolution and Progressive Maryland. Please, if you have any interest in canvassing, I will be reaching out to those of you that pass by me as you walk out this evening, and we'll be asking you to RSVP for that event so that we can give you all the information. We'll be meeting at the North Salisbury School. Like I said, in the in the Newtown area. If you guys have any questions, comments, or want to RSVP, again, please stop and see me on your way out at the registration table. Thank you, guys.
Well, good. Yes, sir.
I would pick up the mic.
Jared, why did you do that?
He didn't want to.
All right, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Jamad. I am the Lower Shore Progressive Caucus Community Outreach Committee Chair. Every month, I like to announce some upcoming events in our community. So this month, I don't have too many to announce for the upcoming month, but there are a couple. Phoenix Youth Project is having their bars information session this Saturday. And the workshops actually begin February 15th. The bars is a youth poetry class that they do. So they get people that actually do poetry to teach the youth how they can express themselves through poetry. For those of you that do not know the Phoenix Youth Project, they are a nonprofit organization in the area that focuses on empowering the youth and giving them a voice through the arts. Also, the Extraordinary League of Gentlemen is having their second annual Mother's Sundance. The Extraordinary League of Gentlemen is another nonprofit in the area. And this time they are trying to give young men, young women, even adult men, because I will be taking my own mother who has mothered 14 children, so she deserves to be treated. So that event is going to be February 10th, and it's just an opportunity to tell your mother pretty much, I love you, Mom, here's a dance, come out, let's have some food and have some fun. So those are our upcoming events, and I'll pass the mic back to Jared.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm just going to give you a few quick updates on some of our legislative priorities while the General Assembly of Maryland is in session. First, we want to say thank you to Delegate Sherry Sample Hughes and Senator Jim Mathias for voting to overturn Governor Hogan's veto of paid sick leave. One of our core principles here at the Lower Shore Progressive Caucus is supporting and fighting for workers' rights. Also, if you can take a few moments either this evening or tomorrow morning to call your senator and ask that they support SB 2, which is the Rape Survivor Family Protection Act, which is scheduled to be voted on tomorrow currently. Just to ask them to support that, that would be wonderful. Also, on Monday, February 19th, Our Revolution Maryland is planning a statewide lobby day. So we're hoping to get as many Shore folks as possible to Annapolis to lobby our delegates and senators on a few different bills. We will be focusing on the Community Healthy Air Act, $15 minimum wage, single-payer health care, increasing our renewable energy portfolio, criminal justice reform, and debt-free community college. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go into details, but I'll be hanging around after the meeting, so if you have any questions, please ask me, or you can contact us via email, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of the methods. So thank you.
Thank you, Whitney. As she mentioned earlier, we have had some legislative victories so far this year. It was nice to see Senator Mathias and Delegate Sample Hughes both vote yes for paid sick leave. Now to get into what you all truly came here for. Tonight we were very fortunate to have a very special speaker. Our very special guest this evening is a truly gifted speaker who has risen to national prominence as an advocate of progressive ideas and values. As a Cleveland City Councilwoman, she developed a unique understanding of government processes and how to overcome partisan perspectives. As an Ohio State Senator, she maintained an uncanny ability to unify opposite viewpoints and challenge political leaders to live up to the highest selves. As a surrogate of the 2016 presidential campaign of Senator Bernie Sanders, she inspired action and installed hope across the entire country, including right here on the Lower Eastern Shore. As a political analyst, she has appeared on the CNN's The Lead with Jake Tapper and Comedy Central's The President's Show. And tonight, as president of Our Revolution, the organization created by Senator Sanders to revitalize American democracy, she joins us to share some perspectives on elevating political consciousness and empowering progressive leaders. Please join us in giving a warm Lower Shore welcome to Senator Nina Turner.
To show it on YouTube. As many of you have seen me in action, you know I like to walk around. I like to be, out there in the crowd. So I just, I want to thank the chair. I want to thank chairman of Our Revolution Maryland. I call him Dr. Bob, but he told me he didn't want me to call him that. But I just did anyway, because I can't help myself. Dr. Bob Mullenkamp, I just want to thank him so much. And just all of you for being here, all of the organizers, all of the folks who are just here in this community. It's great to be in Salisbury. This is my first trip here, and hopefully it will not be my last trip here, so I'm really excited. And also I have joining me is my director of the organizing department. He will wave his hand. Kyle is back in the back of the room. He's part of the team that helps us do our work at Our Revolution National. So when I first got here, you know, just looking around the campus, and I am a college professor, I just play a politician on TV. But my first love is teaching. Man, I can't walk around. My first love is really teaching. And you know, this is really a moment for us. This is a moment in history that we must seize. We should not be afraid of this particular moment in time. I know that it looks like there's lots of problems, and there are, but I do believe that there's promise in the problem. And as I had the opportunity last year to travel to 5 cities with Jim Hightower, who is a force of nature, any of you who know of him, and we went to 5 cities in Texas, and we started in Austin, and we ended in bright red Tyler, Texas. Bright red Tyler, Texas. So red Tyler, Texas. But what we learned from that trip is that the progressives in Tyler, Texas want to know that somebody cares about them, just like any other progressive or Democrat in areas that are brighter blue. And so to go there and touch those folks and not just treat Texas as a flyover, as sometimes Democrats do, and we don't get down and face to face with our sisters and brothers all over this country and try to connect with them. I am here to tell you in Salisbury, and I heard the chairman say there's about 5,000 more registered Democrats in this area. Well, you know what? We got to give people something to vote for. Folks just not coming out anymore. They want to have something to vote for. And so I was really happy to hear about the canvassing that is going to go on, because in order for us to create a progressive America, we got to get out there and fight for it. It's not just going to happen by accident or by osmosis. It's going to happen because we make it happen. I got a chance to talk to Floyd. Floyd is around keeping the building tidy. You know, Dr. Bob and I were talking to him, and then Dr. Bob asked him, you know, if it was something that you wanted Senator Turner to know about what's going on in this area, what would you say? And he said the economy, that it really is about jobs. And so in order for us to make sure that people have the high quality jobs, not just decent jobs, not just make it by jobs, but good jobs, is that we have to make sure that we have the type of people in elected office who understand how to wield the people's power. And that once they get that power, that they understand that it is our power, not their power, and that they do it in a progressive way. So we want some Bernie Blue folks running for office, and I got a chance to meet some Bernie Blue folks in this room tonight. Not just any blue, but Bernie Blue. That's what we're going for. That's what the revolution is really all about, and we're fighting for that. And so when you think about the arc, not just the arc of the universe being long, as Dr. King framed it, but the arc in terms of how we make things happen, I want you to think, just because, particularly because we are on a university campus, to think about what it has taken to get some of the rights that we enjoy in this country right now. And when people were fighting for those rights, the establishment of that day told them it couldn't happen. Now, don't even get me started on my ancestors. You know, Black History Month is coming up, so I'm just going to put that on out there. But from MLK Day through February, you know what I'm saying? But I just want you to think about that. That the black folks in the 18th and the 17th and the 16th century, 15th, think about that. That generation after generation, they're fighting for a type of liberation that some of them never lived to see, but it did not stop them from fighting for it. And it is because of them, their fight, that I can stand in front of you tonight. It is because of their fight that we are assembled here, the mosaic, the rainbow mosaic of humanity, on this campus, at this university tonight, because somebody believed that if they fought for decency, if they fought for liberation, if they fought for human rights, that this country one day would recognize African Americans as equal citizens. But just think, we didn't get here by osmosis. It's the same thing with the women's fight fighting for the right to vote. The 19th Amendment to the Constitution didn't just happen because some politician woke up, some male politician woke up and said, you know what, we've been unfair to women all this time. We're just going to turn this thing around. No, it happened because the sisters got down and they fought and they fought and they fought and they fought, and they were called crazy and they were put in jail. Some were even beaten, but they fought until the 19th Amendment became real. Any great movement in this country never happens from the grass tops. It happens because the grassroots, because of everyday people. We can do the same thing with the labor movement, if you want me to break down that history too. 8 hours a day, being able to have a vacation at most jobs. We still got to fight for some others. But the labor movement did that. And it didn't happen because people just hoped and prayed that it would happen. People did some hoping, they did some praying, but they also did some working to make it happen. And so what I am saying to us tonight, Salisbury, that anything that we want to happen, anything that we can imagine, anything that we can dream, anything that we can envision can happen if we are willing to put some sweat equity on it. And also if we are willing to fight for certain freedoms and opportunities that we ourselves may never enjoy. That is what this journey is about. And those of us on the progressive end of the spectrum, we're not perfect. Well, we as close as you can get, but that, we're not perfect. But I do think our value proposition and that which we fight for is rooted in a righteous indignation that says that we believe in humanity and we believe that the people of this country, no matter where they fall on the political spectrum, deserve better than what they got. And that really was the foundation of Senator Sanders' campaign in 2016. He said to us, we need to form a revolution, the people's revolution, and you deserve better than what you are getting. Why can't we have Medicare for all? Why can't we have it in the wealthiest country on the face of the earth? Why do people have to go bankrupt because of their health care? Why can't we have it? Or when I met a mother in Louisville, Kentucky with tears in her eyes, and she said, my son has a heart condition, and when he was born, we were worried about him having access to health care on one end, and then on the other end, we were worried about him being able to have life insurance. What kind of country is that? So we can have anything that we are willing to sacrifice for. And that is what this moment affords us. That is what, Lord have mercy, because when I call on Jesus, it's serious. That we have a man in the White House who doesn't really get that. But we are not going to be deterred by him. Now, if we say that he is greater than all of the people, then we have a problem. This is just a snapshot in time. It's just a moment. But what we work for, what we fight for, what we envision has to be bigger than pushing back against President Trump. Because I'm going to give you some examples of some stuff that happened before he got there. The fact that our sisters and brothers in Flint still don't have the infrastructure built out to have clean water when they turn on their pipes every morning, that's about 4 years in running. That was before he got in office. In the same way that we're dealing with the DACA situation, that we have 800,000 young people who were brought to this country, and now this country, in terms of its policymakers and the people who we hired through the power of our vote to do the right thing, to do the morally right thing, and they can't seem to get it together. DACA was signed in 2012. What did Democrats think was going to happen? It was temporary from the moment that President Obama signed the executive order. What we should have been doing as Democrats is preparing to make it permanent. And now we find ourselves in 2018 trying to wonder, what are we going to do to push back when we had the power, we didn't deal with the situation right then and there. What did we think was going to happen? It was always temporary. So we need to get elected officials in office who understand how to wield the people's power. And when Democrats have all of the power, we need to push as hard as the Republicans do when they have the power. And get a backbone, get a spine. Don't fold like a napkin or a bed sheet. I mean, come on. And you know, and it's not just on DACA. That's just the moment that's confronting us. But I'm saying those things to you because we have to protest and we have to plan. And I can tell you as a politician, as somebody who has served in elected office, that sometimes politicians make political calculus and they really have no intentions on following through. I'm just going to put it out there just in case that's a surprise to you. That sometimes when politicians are running for office, even those that you like, they're weighing out the political environment. What do the polls say? They're making a political calculation and they really have no intention on doing what they said that they were going to do. And you know why they get away with that? Because we let them. And so we got to stop letting our like for somebody. Because see, it's easy to point the finger at Mr. Trump, and he deserves many fingers to be pointed at him because he is creating an environment as the leader of the free world that is as toxic as hell. He is. And he is bringing up to the surface. There was a report out that just said that some of the white nationalist groups in this country are a bigger threat than some of the foreign terrorist groups that we fight against. What does that say about us as Americans in the 21st century? So all his presidency is doing is bringing to the fore, to the surface, what was already deep. Because if it wasn't there, it couldn't bubble up. So we should take no great pride in that. So what are we going to do as a nation to heal the wounds and the divide of racism and bigotry and sexism and ageism and systemic discrimination? All Mr. Trump's presidency is reminding us is that we have more work to do. And if we let this moment pass us, shame on us. Now, he has to go, no doubt about it. But what are we going to fill that void with? It cannot be more the same. We're not going and catching all this hell for more the same. And so my message to us as progressives, that as we are out there door knocking to connect with our neighbors in a way that does not downgrade them, the level of vitriol that is happening in American society in the political arena makes me sick to my stomach, that you have leaders who continue because they benefit from that division. Now look, I might not agree with the politics of somebody who voted for Mr. Trump. Most likely I don't agree with the politics of somebody that voted for Mr. Trump. But it is not my position to call them stupid, to call them deplorable, to call them basement dwellers, to look down on them. If I want to win them over, I'm going to talk about what we have in common. That they, like they want to live in good neighborhoods. They want their kids to get good education. They want to know that their children will have a better future than they have. They want to make sure that the government is working. Now, we might differ on how to get there. They want clean water and fresh air. So how do we, in the words of Stephen Covey, seek first to understand and then to be understood? And Salisbury, you are in a unique position to do that. Areas like this and areas like Tyler, Texas, and areas like Ross County in my state of Ohio, those are good places to be able to have those neighbor-to-neighbor conversations. Now, some folks we just not going to win over, and that's okay too. But when we start using our politics to deny another person's humanity, we have gone too far. And I don't love any political party that much to deny anybody's humanity. Who am I to do that? And that is what this political environment is cultivating. And in my opinion, as long as we continue to make everything that we do about Mr. Trump, see, that's what he wants. Because he's excited when it's all about him. We just feeding the machine when it's all about him, because it's all about him to him. It's all about him. So how are we going to talk about what we are working towards, what we are fighting for, what kind of country we want to see, and how are we going to make it happen? And so whether that's you running for office, or you supporting somebody who's running for office, or you volunteering in a school, whatever it is, we must do it. And in a representative democracy, sisters and brothers, we don't get to sit on the sideline. We got to be in it. It is participatory sport. It's not for folks to sit on the sidelines. It is for us to get in there and do the work. And that is what our revolution is about. The cultivation of grassroots, community by community, neighbor to neighbor, coming together to say that we're going to fight for some stuff. We're going to work for some stuff. And at the end of that stuff, that our community, our state, and our nation, and by extension, our world is a better place. That is bigger than Mr. Trump. So we got to hold Democrats accountable. When they get the seat, we got to hold them accountable. I mean, over the last 9 years, we lost 1,100 seats. Wrap your head around that. Had nothing to do with the man in the White House. You know why? Because we turned our backs on state legislatures and governor's mansions all across this country. And as someone who served in the Ohio Senate, where my Republican sisters and brothers had super majorities, they didn't even need us to come to the floor of the Senate to even do the people's business. How did that happen? Yes, gerrymandering is a factor, no doubt about it. But it also happened because Democrats have lost touch with the very people we said we were committed to serving. We need to go back to the FDR model of being Democrats. Period, point blank, and we got to throw in a little Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm and a little Congresswoman Barbara Jordan, and baby, we got it right there. That's what we're fighting for. And I think that we can do it in 2018. I really do, if we don't squander the opportunity. But all of that is going to be contingent on you. We can do it. We really, really can. Now, you know, I was going back to the humanity part, and I know sometimes people make it hard to see their humanity. We got to fight for that every single day. And I say that to you as somebody who, Dr. Bob and Kyle know what I'm going to say. You know, my brother, I come from a mixed household, and my brother is a conservative Republican. I mean, when I say conservative, I mean for real, for real. And yes, he's a black man, just in case you wonder. Because people assume just all black people voting for Democrats, which, you know, happens to be the truth. The reality overall, you know, that's a whole nother story, black folks. Well, I'm going to leave that alone. Let me just say this. I don't think you should let anybody take your vote for granted. That's what I'm going to say. And I will say that to you if you're black or white, or brown or yellow, anybody in between, that we should never let any political party take our vote for granted. But that's particularly to the African American community, African American women who find themselves lifted up when they vote, but yet in their communities, yet when it comes to their leadership, don't get the same level of respect. Do you all know that in the United States of America, we have yet to elect an African American woman as governor? In the history, 230-something, in the history of the United States of America, there has never been an African-American woman governor. Yet the Democrats are always talking about how the black woman is the backbone of the Democratic Party. Hello, Alabama. I'm just throwing some stuff out there to work on your mind, because I believe that we should be mature enough to have these conversations. And I'm not saying anything to you that I wouldn't say in any audience in America. That's part of the problem. You got politicians who say one thing to one set of folks and another thing to another set of folks. We are in this together. And whenever there's inequity in the form of racism or discrimination or systemic, because we throw racism around and people don't even understand what it is. It's not just an individual bias by one person against another person. It is about a power dynamic. It is about a system where 2.2 million people are in prison in this country, and most of those people are black and brown. A system. It's about a system where redlining took place, where written into the restrictive covenants was don't sell your house to a Negro, or don't sell your house to a Jewish person. I'm talking about systems. And so all of us have to be committed as we try to form a more perfect union to address the system. And who runs and creates creates the systems, the people. And so we need conscious-minded people of all walks of life, because we are all in this together, to care about the systems and the kind of country that we live in and the kind of country that we want to be. And we can't do that just by blaming one person. Now, he needs to be called out. You know, his attorney general is now about to go back hard on crime and marijuana, you know, putting it back up there, arresting folks for that, and doing all of this stuff that makes it tough for people to be able to have a second chance in this country. We have to push back on that. But as long as we continue to only focus in on Mr. Trump, all of that other stuff is being chipped away. EPA chipped away. Our national park systems chipped away. Because guess what? We're so focused on the one person, every other plan that they have, they're able to carry it out because we're not paying attention. So some of us have to pay attention to Mr. Trump, and then other of us have to pay attention to what's really going on beyond the man behind the curtain. So at Our Revolution, that's what we are about. It's restoring democracy for the people who have been left behind in this country, to speak truth, the power, even if it's among our friends. When they have the power, they need to use it to lift people, and don't play games with it. Do it. But we got to hold those folks accountable. So at Our Revolution, we are going to continue to work electorally to elect progressive candidates. We work on issues like $15 an hour, like Medicare Care for All, as we're doing in right here. You're going to have something in Maryland, and then we have something going on in California. And hopefully state by state by state, we can force our state folks to do what the federal government refuses to do, so that one day we will have Medicare for all in the United States of America. We can do it. You know, President Nelson Mandela once said that it always seems impossible until it is done. We got to hold on to that, and we can get it done. We can get it done. And we do have to deal with, as Floyd told me in that hallway, about the economics. It's about Maslow's hierarchy of need. If I had some chalk, I'll write on the board. How many of you are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs? That's really what politics is all about. It is about that hierarchy of need, that we cannot self-actualize as individuals until we have our base needs taken care of first. So we should care that this system, it is rigged. That most of the concentrated wealth is in the hands of very few. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the rest of us are scraping at the bottom of the barrel. It is not right. And it's not about begrudging anybody for being wealthy. I've traveled all over this country. I've never heard anybody who had a concern about somebody being wealthy. But what we, the people, are tired of is pure, unadulterated greed and exploitation. That's all we're saying. That we got to care that we have almost 50 million people who live in poverty. Most of those people are children. We ought to care. And at sometimes in this life, we all don't start off at the same line. That some people have more advantages than other folks. That if somebody is part of the working poor, it's not because they wanted to be there. You know, on the first day of class, when I talk to my students in class, I usually ask them what they want to be when they grow up. And I have yet to have one of my students say the following: Professor Turner, when I grow up, I want to be working poor. That's my goal in life. You know, you usually have people say, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a carpenter. I want to be. But nobody says they want to be poor. And so to be in a political environment where the people who have most of the power look down their nose at people who are poor and ascribe to them that there's some deficiency that they have some type of human deficiency as to why they are there. Now, we all can do better, but a lot of this has to do with the system. We just saw that in the GOP tax cut. Who does that benefit the most? The people who already have the money and the power. We live in a country where we must do away with Citizens United. That money is speech, so the more money you have, the more speech you have. You know, I'm part of Stamp Stampede. How many of you are familiar with Ben and Jerry's ice cream? Ben Cohen and Jerry. Boy, let me tell you. But Ben has launched, along with Jerry, this organization called Stamp Stampede. Please look it up. But one of our stamps, and you can stamp money the good old-fashioned way and track your money, but one of the stamps says, not to be used to bribe politicians, right? Come on, now that's what we're about. So at the root of all that we're talking about really is this thing about the money, and the more money you have, the more speech you have, and also you can run for office, and that leaves working class people like us out. Even sometimes on the state level now, you need millions of dollars just to run for a state rep seat or a state senate seat. Unconscionable. So at the core, so whether you're in this room because you care about the environment, or whether you're in this room because you care about income and wealth inequality, maybe you're in this room because you care that women are not making dollar for dollar as a man. Maybe you're in this room because you care about education. Whatever brought you here, just know that fundamentally, all that we care about is linked to the fact that money is speech. And we have to do something about that. And it is just wonderful that we had a presidential candidate in 2016 who decided that he wasn't going to take PAC money and big corporate dollars, that he decided to do it $27 at a time. We can do that. People power, time, treasure, and talent. So I'm about to close this thing up. So I was talking about my brother, right? I come from a mixed family. And I talk to my brother every morning at 7:30. Because I'm trying to get into the mind of a conservative Republican. I'm trying to understand. And my brother makes sure that I understand. And I enjoy our conversations. And the reason why I'm bringing him up, because I just want you to follow me for a minute. I thought about how polarizing it is right now and how heavy we feel all the time. How people have broken up relationships over the 2016 election. People just stopped talking to folks over this election, and how we let this one man and this one election and this atmosphere tear us apart, human being to human being. The fact that my brother is a conservative Republican, if I needed a blood transfusion right now, if I was in the hospital right now, if I needed a kidney right now, if I needed help right now, I wouldn't have to worry about whether or not my conservative brother would be right by my side. I say that to you is that we cannot allow political affiliation to tear us apart. Hard on the issues, but soft on people. And that is hard to do, but we have to work at it. You know, Reverend Dr. King, he said this, and I told another crowd that, you know, we just came off of MLK Day, and we pride ourselves as Americans to talk about how proud we are, and we celebrate the man. But that's all we do is celebrate him. We don't even really try to follow the path, because it's hard to follow the path. But Dr. King once said this. He said, darkness can't drive out darkness. Only light can do that. And hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And so my message tonight is that if we really believe in our high-minded ideas, if we know that this economy is broken and it needs fixed, if we know that we will be a better nation if we had Medicare for all so that we don't leave a sister or brother behind, if we do truly believe that women deserve to make dollar for dollar and have parity in this country when it comes to our labor and how we're treated, if we really believe that the criminal justice system is unfair and it needs to be fixed, if we really believe that we must protect Mother Earth for ourselves and generations yet unborn, then we will take the harder path, which is not to deny anybody's humanity. Now, there will come a time when you are face to face with people who are just flat out racists and bigots. But everybody who voted for Mr. Trump is not that. Everybody who believed him when he said, you guys got a rotten deal and TPP was wrong and NAFTA was wrong, and when I get in there, I'm going to fix it. You're going to have the best health care ever, believe me. These are the things that he said on the campaign trail. And guess what? Some folks just flat out believed it. It doesn't make them bad people. It makes him a bad person for lying, because they hadn't done any of that up until this point. But what I do know is 2020 is coming. And we can't jump over 2018 to get to 2020, meaning we must elect people in office from school board to the mayor's office, to city council, to the state legislature, to a governor. Hello, been jealous. We got to elect folks who are going to help us get to that more perfect union. We can't jump over 2019. It's coming. More local elections all across this country. We can do it. And then, baby, 2020 will be here, and that will be our day of reckoning, but we got to do it right now. There's an African proverb that says that one must never build their shield on the battlefield. It's shield building time right now. So it is how we prepare, and the spirit by which we do it does matter. If we are only fighting for these issues for people who believe like us and look like us and think like us, then we're behind. But if we are doing this because we really do believe in the power and the strength of the people, and the ability of this nation to rise, then we will fight for these issues for everybody and not leave anybody behind. So I want to close with this, just a couple of things. Now, I don't know if everybody is here who, if you are not a member of Our Revolution Maryland, if you are not working with our sisters and brothers in Salisbury, the progressives here, please join before you leave. You have 3 things that you can give. You can give your time, your talent, or your treasure, but you got something to give. And you can't be one of those that sit on the sideline and talk about what I woulda, coulda, shoulda done. You have the opportunity to do something right now. We don't all have to do it because many hands make the light work. If we're all moving, we can get this done. So I want you, please join Our Revolution Maryland. If you have not given a donation, now money can't buy you love, but it can get you a whole lot of likes. And we need some of that. Now, we ain't got to have all the money, but we need some of the money for the mission. We got to have it. So if you are not a sustaining donor of Our Revolution Maryland, I want you to think about, before you leave out of here, donating $3 a month. Give up that Starbucks coffee, which costs more than $3. just 1 cup a month. Please do that. And if you can give that symbolic $27 a month, please do that. Because what you do is that you enable Our Revolution Maryland and all of our affiliates to have organizers on the ground, to be able to help to talk to the people, to fuel the mission. It is because of you, people like you in this room, that Senator Sanders was able to compete. It's because of you that he broke records that people had never seen before, because he dared to say, I will run for president of the United States fueled by the power of the people. You are those people. And so we got to make investments in our future. So I'm asking you to support and to give to Our Revolution Maryland, to help the Salisbury local affiliate here. We need you to do that. Please don't walk out of this room without doing something. And if you don't have $3 to give, if you don't have $27 to give, sign up to volunteer. I heard a sister up here say there's going to be some door knocking going on. If you don't have a dime to give, sign up to knock on some doors for Ben Jealous, so that he is the next governor of this state, so that you're not sitting back in November saying, daggone it, I wish I had done more. On election day, I want you to sit back and say, I gave all that I could, win, lose, or draw. Because we can't change things without you. So I'm going to close with this, because I'm feeling some type of way right now. And I do want to let you guys know that if you see me leave, and I've been to Fredericks, and I was just in Howard County, and I'm here, and the only reason why I won't be able to stay here till the end is I have to get on the train to get to New York, and it's going to take Kyle and I to get 2 hours back to DC. But I will definitely come back here. But I want you to take this with you. The reason why I fight so hard is because I understand what Langston Hughes said in his poem, Mother to Son, life ain't been no crystal stair. And that cuts across all ethnicities. Because that's another thing some politicians are trying to do. They're trying to drive a wedge between us based on ethnicity. We can't let them do that. Now, we know black and brown sisters and brothers do suffer disproportionately, but when I go into the rural areas of this country, I see my white sisters and brothers, and rural doesn't always mean white, because in South Carolina, when I go into rural areas, guess what? They're black. But we know what people mean when they say rural, urban, suburban, but we can't let people separate us based on that. What we do have to know and understand that life ain't been no crystal stair. For some people, based on their ethnicity and based on their gender, their journey may be harder. That's all we got to remember. And we have to work to eradicate racism, sexism, ageism, all the isms. We don't want none of the isms. So for me, the reason why I fight so hard. So my parents got married very young and it didn't work out. So I grew up the majority of my life in a single parent household. I'm the oldest of 7 children. First generation college graduate. I thank you for that. And I didn't know how I was gonna make it. I'm gonna tell you that. I didn't see it, you know, because it was hard when you don't have somebody sitting at your kitchen table who can walk you through this stuff. I didn't know. But one day I had a defining moment. I know all of us know, because our stories are our strength. But I got home from school one day, Cuyahoga Community College, and there was a note on the refrigerator door because in the dark ages there was no text messaging. And you know, just good old fashioned. How many of the seasoned folks in here know what I'm talking about? It's a magnet on the refrigerator door with a note on it, you know? Millennials don't sit on the seasoned folks, okay? We got stories to tell. Man, and my husband and I, we got home and there was a note on the refrigerator door instructing us to go to the hospital. And you know, I didn't think anything of it because my mother had a history of high blood pressure, but little did I know that was gonna be a defining moment. Oldest of 7 children, I was 22 years old. I get to the hospital with my husband. A nurse leaps from her seat and she escorts my husband and I into a room that they called the family room. And all of my siblings were already there and they were crying. My conservative Republican brother, 6 feet 5 inches tall, I had not seen him cry since he was a little boy. It was a heaviness in the room. The doctor came in the room. She said, "Family, I hate to inform you, but your mother is in a coma." And I went to the room where my mother was and I could no longer contain myself. You know, I'm trying to be strong because I'm the oldest at 22 years old, 7 of us. The youngest is 12. And I find myself looking at my mother and I'm crying like a baby as I'm having a flashback about a woman who was raised as an only child in a solidly middle-class household. That my grandmother, born in 1913, and my grandfather, born in 1913, gave my mother a good home. And she could have been anything that she wanted to be, but all of us do not run this race at the same pace. I had a flashback about a mother who would cry herself to sleep during Christmas because she couldn't afford to buy 7 children all of the latest gadgets and designer clothes. Or a mother who from time to time could not afford to pay utility bills. And rather than tell her children that she couldn't pay them, would have us in the living room praying to God to turn our lights back on. Life ain't been no crystal stair. So my mother died at the age of 42 years old with her dreams deferred. On the system of welfare, no life insurance policy, and no money in the bank. And I was a sophomore at a community college. And I'm having a moment because I don't know if I can make it. But as sure as there's a God in heaven, and as sure as people in my life who saw something in me continued to push me, I was able to walk across several college stages and collect several degrees. And I did all that for my mother's memory, every degree, even though she never lived to see me accomplish any of these things, sworn in, becoming honorable, doing some great things. Life ain't been no crystal stair. But the greatest moment for me was not when I graduated, but it's when my son graduated, because I knew that truly that cycle of undereducation had been broken. What are you saying, Senator Turner? I am saying this, that we cannot give up on anybody. That what we are fighting for and pushing for matters. that there are other Nina Turners out there from all walks of life. We don't know what anybody is going through from one moment to the next moment. And how dare we look down our noses on people and talk about them like dogs just because they decided to vote one way or another. In this movement, we stand up for all people. And the thing that attracted me to Senator Bernie Sanders was several things. But when he talked about college for all, he was talking my story, because it is college education that liberated me. When he talked about Medicare for all, I thought about my mother laying in that hospital bed. I thought about a fight, because I don't want anybody else to have to know what happens to a dream deferred. And that is why we work. Because we're trying to make sure that very few people have to ask the question, what happens to a dream deferred? And that is why it is important that you are in this fight. It is important. You do matter, and what you do matter, it matters. And so we need you in this fight. And it was not my intent to bring people down, but to lift you up, to say to you that when you see me fighting like hell, I'm a Mother Jones kind of girl, pray for the dead and fight like hell for the living. That's how I roll at all times. And when people ask me my political affiliation, hell, you know what I am? A hell-raising humanitarian. That's my political affiliation. So we can do this. So I'm asking you to believe in yourselves first, and to do what we know we need to do. Now we're going to pass a plate around here, and we're going to ask people to make sure that you donate whatever you can give. I want you to give. Are we giving? Okay, we got a basket going around. I want somebody to put $27 in that basket. Somebody got to put $27 in the basket, in the hat, in the basket, whatever you can give, I want you to give. In Salisbury, I'm going to close, and we'll take change too. Yes, we will. We will take coins. I'm going to close with, you know, if you give a politician and a preacher a mic, because I've been closing for the last 10 minutes. My mother was an evangelist. She was a preacher, so I went to church 8 days a week. So that's that. So it's in my soul. Now I want to close with a story from my grandmother. Many of you may know I'm famous for this story. It's the 3 bones. And my grandmother couldn't read or write. She was born in 1913. She couldn't read or write, but she had what we call in the African American community mother wit. She was one of the smartest women I've ever known. And my grandmother, you know, she could count her money though, ladies. I just want you to know that. She couldn't read or write, but she counted her money. And she kept her money in what she called the Southern Ladies Bank and Trust. Some of y'all know where that bank account is located. But when I asked my grandmother, what does it take to be successful in life, she told me all I needed was the 3 bones, the wishbone, the jawbone, and the backbone. She said the wishbone will keep you hoping and praying, because hope is the motivator, but the dream is the driver. She said the jawbone will give you courage to speak truth to power. But the most important bone of them all, the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious bone, is the backbone. Because the backbone will keep us standing through all of our trials and tribulations. And sisters and brothers, in this life, we're going to go through some stuff, but we can't have a testimony without a test. And I want all of us to have the testimony that in the 21st century, in 2018, we gave it our all. We gave it our all. So God bless you, Salisbury. I'm going to come back if you have me back. But I do believe in the power of the people to transform not only this city, not only this state, but this nation and this world. And that transformation is going to come through you. God bless you.
Walking down the street in town. So I opened up my eyes.